Hi everyone, I'm Roberto Coscia. I'm a QA engineer and I work for the past 6+ years in the quality assurance engineering space. And I worked in companies such as ByteDance, TikTok, and Paramount, and many others. Do you want to become familiar with Playwright, which is a framework used for performing automation tests that is used now by most of the companies and is basically the best, most performant automation library used by automation testers. Do you want to become familiar with Playwright? And do you want to pass an interview with Playwright? Then you are in the right video. I'm gonna do this preparation for an interview both with AI and with my expertise. AI because it will help to lay down a foundation of how you could use AI, power AI, to prepare for an interview or to learn new things. So stay tuned to see more about this. For this interview, I'm gonna basically run this web application in local so that I will perform the testing in create a possible scenario as I would do an interview to a candidate or and how I would perform that interview just by using this app. To do that, what you have to do is to go to the code section and copy the link that you see in HTTPS. And we will clone this project into our local machine. To do that, we will use Visual Studio Code and we will perform the cloning from there. First of all, Visual Studio Code, if you don't have it, if you're a beginner, you should download is a coding IDE used to write code. And you need to download it on Google. So digit Visual Studio Code, download it and install it, and you should be ready to go. Next thing, you need to create a folder into your desktop or wherever you prefer with the text that you, in this case, I wrote playwright underscore test. And then you can go to file, open folder, and if you search to the desktop, you should find, I call it playwright interview. I can select and open VS Code to that folder. Now you can go to run a new terminal and you CLS in this case, and you can write git clone and paste the repository which you copied before. And now you can run the command. This will just make sure that you clone the repository to your path just selected. And here we go. This was done. And we see we are we need to now go inside that path because it's a folder inside the path we created. So to do that, we need to do cd tw practice app. And we are now inside the folder. For who of you don't know, obviously to use Git, you need to install. It's another thing you need to download and install it. This tutorial is not really for super beginner, but you need to install, make sure to install potentially Git, VS Code, Node, JS in case you have to deploy and run an application, a React application or an Angular application. But it's not the purpose of this video to tell you that, just to show you how to prepare for an interview. I assume that you have some basics of programming if you want to be into automation testing. It's the second thing, considering that this is a Angular application, you need to install Angular. And to do that, you can go to the documentation of Angular and go to the setup instruction. And as you can see here, you can choose yarn npm, the package from which you want to install. I will install with pnpm. So you click here, then you go back to your VS Code and you install it. considering that I didn't have npm installed, I just didn't work obviously in this PC. So I decided instead to run with the npm install. This will install Angular, and we will be able to use the commands such as ng-serve, which is needed, as you can see from package.json here, to start the application. As you can see, that is done successfully, and now we do ng-serve. As you can see, we have an error because, of course, we need to perform npm install first. This will create the node module folder. So you can see the npm install didn't work, and probably because we have some versions that are different from the 14, so the version are not aligned. So for that, we'll try to run with the legacy-peer.deps. That probably could solve the problem. And that is working. Now you will see, and you will see here the node modules starting, and we'll come back when the installation is finished. Now it completed, and the installation npm, the node module is completed, and we can perform ng-serve. That should hopefully run the application. We got an error. Let's see what it is. Webpack. So because this PC is not, I don't use it from a long time, and I didn't install a coding environment, all the coding environment possible. Don't have Webpack installed, and to install it, I will do npm install webpack -save.dev. This should install the package and should make it work correctly. So this issue seems like due to the fact that what are in this project that come from GitHub. Probably there are some dependencies that they mismatch with each other and caused the same issue. So what we will do, because it seems like there is a mismatch with Webpack, is to run this command again, legacy peer deps, that should hopefully resolve the problem again. Now let's run the command ng-serve again, and hopefully this time it works. Seems like it's working. It took about a minute and a half to complete the run. Well, it's still running, but hopefully soon it has completed, and we can run the app at localhost 4200. And this is our application, which we will test. So we have the application up and running now. And so let's say that in an interview, they ask you to based on a repository, to run the app and to also to start writing a test. What you would think is a bit of checking a problem solving. Obviously, based on if the interview is for a senior, middle, senior position, they might ask you more complex things to do to check and taste that you're able to also run an application and do perform other actions, not only your automation test writing. So this is the application run. Now, what we will be doing next, we will set up, run a new project from scratch, Playwright project from scratch, where we can basically run a workflow of actions that we can define right now. Remember that as an automation tester, you don't have necessary to remember every and to know on top of your head how to run Playwright. So you can go to the documentation to check it, because obviously it's written everything you need to do. So now you create another folder and you call it Playwright test cases. And what I will do next is to go into it. Or actually, let's do a different thing. Considering that we already cloned the project, let's create this here. Let's not run a different folder. So we are inside the application, the front-end application. We want to create a folder. So we will create open a new terminal, cd dot, and we will make there, and we call this one, no, I was in the wrong one. So let's start from where we were. We are in a PV practice app, cd dot. Now here we do make there I will call Playwright. Now we have a folder here, and we can do cd into that folder, Playwright. Here, now what you can do, we see that to install Playwright, we need to run this command, and that's what we will do. I'm running the command, so let's click yes, put Katie proceed. Want to use TypeScript because the requirement of this preparation is to perform automation tests with Playwright and TypeScript. The end-to-end test we leave the default to tests. Add a GitHub action workflow, not for now. So we press enter. Install Playwright browser npx yes. So I just pressed enter to everything. But everything as default. So as you can see, we have one terminal where we run the app. If you close it, you will not access the app. And another one where we're installing a Playwright. Okay, now we have installed Playwright, and we can see that inside we have different folders. We have the Playwright config file, the default one. We have the package JSON with all the installation, and we have a file test with an example inside it, which is not something we need at the moment. Probably we need to create a new file called test1.spec.ts. This will recognize this as a test. And we will work inside here. Once we run our project and we created a new one, first of all, let's import the page and expect playwright test. This allow us, test and expect. This allows us to use the method test, where first of all we can write the title of the test, which is a testing project. We didn't define yet, and then is an asynchronous operation where we have a page inside it, and we return the test we want to write. This is basically the first very basic setup of a playwright test. Now we need to invent a case scenario. Let's say that I'm an interviewer. What I want to do. I never tested this application before, so I'm doing it right now. I want to change this in dark, the drop down in dark, the view, and then I want to fill this form and to submit it. And I'm not sure if give a result to check those results. You can start, let's start small. All right, so first thing you need to right click, inspect, and you could check what this is about. You can check the whole button, for example. Let's see what it contains. Contain a class select button, is the type button, and it contains inside the span, which is not very good to take. And well, one thing you can get as best practice of Playwright is the getByText. So we can get by the word light, and we can check if the word light is more than once. So to me, getByText is a good candidate to get this element. So what we will do, we will go back to our test and we will write page dot get by text, and inside here we will write light. Here the page it should be by brackets, and in fact now we see that there is no error. So we're getting this, and we set const which will be equal to that. Now, if you click this, you see that they have different options. We want to select the option dark. So how do we do that? We go to our test and we do drop down, which is here, dot select option, and we select dark. Now we can run the test. So in Playwright, you remember to install, let's restart everything, to install this extension, Playwright Test for VS Code, because this will allow you to open this command, this extension, and to use it also for the testing. Now, If you go to the testing, you can go to Playwright, go to test, and we have our test one. If you run it, it will run the test, and you will see that it's not working. Why is not working? Because we forgot to do one thing, which was to navigate to an element. So how to navigate to an element? In Playwright, you have a page that go to that allow to go to an element. So if in your Playwright config you have set up the base URL, then you can set just the partial path. In this case, we didn't. So we will insert all the text, which all the URL. So you go to your localhost and we copy it, and then we go to our test, and here we go. Now we will navigate to this web application, to this URL, and it will run. So let's see when it fails. You can see here that where it failed. It failed because anyway we never navigated to the page, so it didn't even get to check the option. And so next we run again. See that it's navigating to the page, and it will probably fail again. So why this test failed? Because we need to remember always to add a wait. Now, if we run the test again, it will fail again, where it failed in the selection. So let's say that you want to see why a test failed. What you need to do is to run npx playwright test, and then you should copy, making sure that you are in the right folder. So in Playwright, we do the relative path. Then we need to add dash dash UI. This will run for us a debugging screen, which allow us to review the test. Why is not running? Because we are already in Playwright, and this is in the opposite direction. Let's try it again. And here we go. We see the test. Now we will see where test failed. This is just to check to make you understand what's going on with the test. So here you will have again the error, where the error is, and you can go through the test step. See, when you check the error, you see that locator select option is not select element. So the issue here, we have different issue in the code. One, anyway, the URL of the application, as we saw when we launched the app, is this one, is localhost 4200. Then we cannot use select option if we're getting by text. We need to get by locator, which we need to find out which one is. So if you go to select this area, you see that there is a select button class, and we will get by that. So now you can or do get by class name, get by class, and do that, or you can do that. So if you don't remember exactly the method, doesn't really matter, because you can check the library, and anyway our memory can't remember all the syntax. By the way, here we need to use locator, and considering it's a class, we need to add a dot. And now probably it could work. Let's go back to run the test, and let's see why it's failing. We can see that we have 3 elements. If you go and check that element and click ctrl-f that element here and add a square bracket, we can see that there is one, but probably there is a locator which contains select button more than once. So the issue probably is because this dot shouldn't be here. Let's run it again, and let's run it again here. The issue was super. We forgot to click to the drop down. It's because it's evening. Because obviously you need to click it, open the drop down, and then you can select an option. So let's try again to run the test like this. So guys, the error is the following. We have 2 things that we need to remember every time. We need also to add the because it's an asynchronous operation. If you don't do that, it will fail no matter what. Then what else? You cannot use the select option unless you have a select tag in HTML tag, which we don't have in this case, so we will not use this one. We can check in the application, double check if there is the select here. Gspan, no, I don't see any select, so we cannot use it here. So what we will do is to click here, and then once we click, we get this, we can get by text to click to dark. Let's do that. Let's do. So we click and then page get by text and we get the color dark. Now it should pass. Instead is failing. Let's see why. Let's run the test because there are three elements. So to select the first, you can use first dot and then dot click. Now it should pass because it will select the first, open a drop down, and in fact, it passed. And now, if you run the UI mode, you see that the test will pass. When you go to the UI mode and you click to the action, you see exactly what it's doing. It's clicking here, and then it will select the the dark mode. The dark mode because we need to do if you click after. Sorry guys, obviously it's evening and I'm tired. I didn't notice something fundamental that I have to click. If you don't click, you don't select it. So now it didn't pass because obviously not getByText itself is not gonna fail. Or it's just getting an element. And then if you run again, it should pass again. And if you run the UI mode, which you already do, it will pass. And also we will see now the step there, unless it failed for some specific reason. Strangely, it passed as it should. And strangely, it failed here. Why? It should pass. In fact, it passed. Something weird happened. But what I wanted to show you is that here you see the before action and after is after the click and now it shows correct. And you can see here frame by frame what happened. So next, what we needed to do, so we wanted to write inside this frame a name. So let's select with this one and we select here, basically we have an input. So we can get by role input, but we need to check if the input there are more than one, and we do in fact have more than one. We can get by placeholder gendo. So now what we'll do, we go back to our project and do a wait page that get by placeholder and we get gendo. Let's prepare or read the others. We get here we should have placeholder is called email and we go back to a project and wait page that get by placeholder and we write email. Now we see that there was a check there. We want to click to remember, let's say. So we will search by the checkbox. So what we will do is wait page dot locator, and the locator is dot custom checkbox, and which will be our checkbox. Now we can do checkbox that check, considering is a checkbox. This should check the checkbox. And let's run it and see if still all goes well. So the reason why this failed is because this is not a type checkbox. So it's not a native checkbox. If it was a native checkbox, you could use the check. But obviously in some company, they might just use a wrapper, and like in this case. So instead of doing check, we will do a click in this case. And that's how it will work. You see it run and you see it failed, and we understand also why. We run it again also here, and the reason is the usual. I should put a wait. It said it couldn't find the element. In fact, here I cannot see that form I was checking. Guys, basically, from the test that we ran, we discovered that when you get here and you want to perform and you wanted to search for the placeholder name, we were in a different screen. What we forgot is that we performed an action here, if I find it. Yes. So we were here, basically. We did this. And in order to get there, we had to click. So let's run a work from scratch. We search for dark theme, then getByText forms, getByText form layout, and then we should get where we want, which is this. So let's do that. Wait, page that get by text, and let's copy this and let's search form layouts, and we click to both. Now we should it should work. Click. Now it should work. Is a way to which we already have. You can see that error was here, and we need to understand the reason why the error was. And we can see when we run in here that we have actually three elements that are the checkbox. So we need to find which one is the correct, which probably is the first. So as you can see here when we run the test, and we have three of those. So this is the first, and that's why we should call checkbox dot first dot click. And now we will have a working situation. Let's run the same here and let's figure out why it failed. Let's see if this first is better. I use it here. Here we remove the weight from here because we need to call it here. Run again. Let's run again here. And finally it passed. So remember to add the weight when you create a variable. Don't add a weight there. Add the weight to the action you make. So we can see that here we got to click to forms, to form layout, and then we didn't do anything because we selected form the chain door, but we need to say fill, and we want to set that to Roberto, and we want to set this, and that's it. Now it should work again. Sorry guys, obviously I worked a full-time job, full day, plus doing this, I got foam in my brain. So we have an error. The email results to 5 elements. Apparently we have 5 elements. This one, we can see that she is the first. So probably we'll set it as the first email, that first, and that should be it. In fact, is correct. You see, name Roberto Coscia, it clicked, and now we add the submit. So to do that, we can even check. You can use this button, the locator, to check the locator of the submit. It will display here. You can copy this locator, and you can add below wait, and then dot page dot locator. And then the action, which is the click. Now we run the test. We run it also here. You can see if we write a text, Roberto, the email is definitely not kosher, but we wrote kosher for testing purpose, submit, and seems nothing happened. Let's see, Roberto at gmail.com. It doesn't matter. It is just for testing purpose. We click no change status to check. But to go a bit further, what you could say to do what someone in interview can ask you is to assert that an element inside this placeholder has the field, the text Roberto. So how to do that? You can go back to the test. So after having done this action where we fill with Roberto, we do a wait page dot equal to this. Then we can do name dot fill, remove the wait from here. Now you can do name, wait, expect name to contain text, and we can say Roberto, and it failed. It gave a hint. So why that is happening is actually strange because name page that placeholder. Let's see. Let's inspect. So this should contain is an input. So because it's an input to have text, we need to use the method to have text instead than to contain text. To have, and you can see here it can help you with what to use to have text. Roberto, and we run again, and it should work now. Obviously, if you don't remember the syntax, it doesn't matter because you can watch the documentation to check that. Well, I believe that because it is not really working, it should show Roberto inside it. In fact, there is Roberto. Here we go. The issue was to have value, so it was a syntax issue, not to have text. This to contain text was the other one when you don't use input as tags. So let's run the test. I believe that should work. Let's run also this one. So we cover the assertion. The assertion can be also considered Playwright already at assert for the visibility. There are certain things that already check by itself. For example, in a framework like Playwright, you have to assert yourself that an element is visible or that exists. In Playwright, that is done already automatically. It's not needed to be done in the Playwright. So if we remove, for example, this one, and you see after the dot, what you can do is you can check the element to be attached, to be empty, to be editable, to be hidden, to be true. Basically, all these are the possible assertions that you can check on an element. You will see this if you install the Playwright extension. By the way, for the moment, we'll keep it like this. For lack of time, we cannot go further much more, I believe. Let's see if you want to, let's say that you want to test a tooltip, you can check an element and there is a command dot hover. And then once you do that hover, you can check what it display. Class, we can get by text here, this Playwright. So best practice of Playwright. Prefer to use the get by text, basically the get by placeholders. Get by placeholder, get by role, get by test ID. Consider that sometime in the front end code, you might have classes which are very long and you don't want to use them as classes in the locator. Then you should prefer, if you don't have any other way to get that item, neither from the parent or etc., you could consider also to add the data test ID. I consider also that Playwright has a method called getByDataTest ID. It supports that natively. So if you can ask the developer or add yourself the data test ID selector to the element you need. So that will make the selector is easily retrieved. Another thing you can do, considering that I don't want to make this video too long, is that you once you have the test file, so you can also create a page object model. Page object model allow you to make the code more readable, more reusable, more modular. It is very good practice to use. In Playwright, you can create a folder called common, and inside the common, you can create a folder called POM, and inside the folder POM, you can add, for example, a file called TestPage.ts. The test and expect. You can create a class called TestPage, which has its own constructor. Here you could call you could call as parameters for speed. I created on my own page object model. Basically, we imported page, expect, and the locator, and we export the class so that can be you can basically call the object anywhere in the test suite. And we have basically in the constructor, first we can read only is like a private command in TypeScript that we can use to basically instantiate locators and objects. So we instantiate in the page object and some locators. And in the constructor, where we call the page, instantiate them we provide them a value. So the locator, the correct locator. And we can use them, we can create different methods that we can use inside the app, copying, pasting what we already created. So this page object model can transform the test. For example, this one, the goto, can be transformed in, first of all, in the test, we can let's first import test page. So let's import this, let test page equal to new, and now can call. So as you can see here, how the methods. Once we go to our test, when we can import page object model, we can create an instantiation of that object with the variable, and we can call that method like so, which is more readable. And we can do the same for each singular case, or we can for a set of actions. Let's say that we want this part, for example, could be part of a select team part. For example, I think, yeah, select team is exactly that. Just putting for reference, select button. So this 10 drop down button is select button first. Yes, correct. Then I click and get by text dark. Perfect. So you click there and the theme is called dark. I could use this one simply in here. We can, instead of all this, I can delete and use await test page dot select theme and call the theme, because with the remember the parameter was the type of theme, which is a string. We can call dark. So this will perform exactly the same like the 3 rows, but is more readable because obviously we're calling select theme. We understand what's happening. You can do the same with all this until you get to more simplified version of the application. For example, this one will navigate to form layout. Simplify this. And we can do await test page navigate to form layout, and that's it. That does the exact same thing. And then maybe we can decide that this would be a next element, next method to be created, which is like insert user name. And sorry guys, I just realized that there is some key pattern that when I digit that it stopped the video, but I wanted to show what I've done there. I created basically fill form 1. I copied basically the last point. I copied the last bit to create all this part to create another method, which was to fill the form. But I also the two parameters name and email to fill them then in the test. So this is exactly the same that was in here instead than this line of code, except that now we insert as parameter the name and the email. This is much more readable than before. And in synthesis, in synthesis, what we did is to create a test to run into errors and to debug them with the UI mode. And in the testing extension way, we created the page object model. We understood the potential why we should use it, and we reuse it to improve our test to make it more readable. I hope this was useful for you. Let me know if you want a part 2 of this. For today, I think it will be enough. But if you wish to have a part two, let me know in the comment. I can explain, I can continue from this project and build on top of it with other situations, other cases, other tricky situations that we can invent. We could even improve the page object model, the config file, Playwright config file to run tests in parallel. We can do things like this. Just let me know. Probably there will be part two of this. We didn't cover the part of using AI to help us doing the test, but with this, if you wish, there will be a part two of this interview preparation, let's say. Hope this was useful. Consider to subscribe the channel to have more video like this. Like, comment the video, let me know if there is anything else you wish to me to cover, anything you want to mention, and see you in the next one.